Look, I don't know about you guys, but I like it more when the Dodgers do the sweeping instead of getting swept. Let's talk about it on All Dodgers. Coming at you live from my home in Pleasant Grove and that guy's home. I pushed a button. There it is.
It happens.
In La Puente, California. This is the All Dodgers podcast. I am Jeff Snider. That guy next to me is Clint Pasillas. We are All Dodgers. We are talking to you, and we are happy, Clint, because the Dodgers swept the Padres. Of course, All Dodgers is part of the Bleav Network of podcasts, brought to you by FanDuel. And FanDuel would not have given you, well, would have given you very good odds on the Dodgers sweeping this series. If you would put some money on that, you probably would be even happier than you are right now, because you would have made some money because it was not the most likely outcome, Clint. And yet, somehow, some way, it's the outcome that happened. And after coming off that Dodgers getting swept by the Angels, that wasn't a fun episode to do, talking about that. I know you liked it because it did numbers, because people were mad.
But we all needed to bitch and moan about something together as a family.
But this is so much more fun to be smiling and happy when we do an episode, because Dodgers went into this series down by a game in the NL West. They come out of this series up by 2 games. That was a theoretical possibility, but never anywhere close to a likely outcome of this series. We were hoping the Dodgers could win the series so they'd come out of the series tied in the division. And, but like I said, after they won the first 2 games, let's get greedy. Go ahead and do it. And unlike the Blue Jays last weekend, the Dodgers got the job done when we got greedy and they finished the sweep. It was glorious, Clint.
I love Matty Man 5's Dodgers chat here on our chat here. Everybody fill up the chat. Let us know how you're feeling about this team after being so down on them, less than a few days ago. But this team is impossible to predict because the way they were playing after that Angels series, just how many little things went wrong. I didn't think they had a sweep in them with the Padres, who have been playing a very good brand of baseball. They don't have a lot of slug. That's not part of their game. And thankfully, Dodgers starting rotation has been exceptional, very good in this series, but that you could not have predicted. I would not have put much money on a sweep. I said the Dodgers take 2 or 3. Thankfully, they made me look stupid and decided to go for the whole dang sweep.
Yeah, you and I both said 2 out of 3 for the Dodgers. And I think both of us, deep in our heart of hearts, felt like we were being homers a little bit, like being a little bit of Dodger colored glasses, hoping that they could win 2 out of 3. I would guess that, for me, if you'd asked me my confidence level going into the weekend that the Dodgers would win the series, I would have said 60%. I do believe the Dodgers are the better team than the Padres, but the Dodgers weren't playing better at the time. So, I would have said 60%, and also I would have believed that at least 20 of that was coming from homerism. But you know what? Like you said, they made us look dumb. John of Malta in the chat says, it's just one game, Jeff. And as I explained last week, the one time it's not just one game is when you're playing the team that's chasing you or that you're chasing. Because then every time you win, they also lose. This was 6 games this weekend that the Dodgers won. Because this is as if they swept the Angels and the Giants swept the Padres. This is six outcomes that went the Dodgers' way, because every game against the team you're battling for counts double. And so that's the one time it's not just one game. And you know what? If you had to choose, should the Dodgers get swept by the Angels and sweep the Padres, or get swept by the Padres and sweep the Angels, you take what we got,
I take this outcome 1,000%.
Absolutely. It's somebody else says Padre fans are in shambles. Fans and sports media already saying Dodgers better watch out for next series.
Diane's saying, I wonder where the Padres trolls are at tonight. Obviously, we had a bunch of trolls in the chat. We love trolls. They do inflate the numbers. We appreciate people coming, and all walks of life coming and hanging out with us, and at least sharing the love of baseball one way or the other. I think I loved everything about the series in that it had a little bit of everything. Mookie, people on the All Dodgers Discord saw it. I predicted the Mookie Betts homer. Technically, I just really said, or realistically, I just said, a home run would be nice right here, Marcus. and then he went and did the thing to put the Dodgers back on top. And thank God Alex Vesia found that dog in him again to hold it today. But you had a Conforto game where all of a sudden he gets a tip of the hat from his manager Dave Roberts, driving in a couple of runs, couple of hits in that ball game. I really love the way Dave ran these 3 games. Obviously there was a sense of urgency on the field, but there was a sense of urgency with Dave in not leaving guys in to maybe try to figure it out. In a lesser series, maybe you try to see more of what you have in Alexis Diaz or something like that. But he was ready to make the right moves, pull the right levers at the right time. Granted, working against him, he doesn't have the best bullpen in the world right now. They did enough to keep it close enough to win today and ultimately earn that greedy sweep. But I to have everything, Freddie getting off the schneid a little bit with a 3-run homer, right as Nelly and Bulldog are talking about this horrible slump that he's been in over the last couple of weeks. Just had all of the pieces of an impressive series where you're like, okay, maybe they do need to play, have something to play for a little bit more. Obviously playing against the Padres, you're going to get it up for them a little bit more. And, Dodgers took their Viagra this weekend and I'm happy they did.
Yeah. This is one of the, we talked about what Mookie said last year, how every team they play, it's their World Series. Absolutely the case with the Angels. You saw what the Angels did against the A's after, their World Series hangover was a real thing. And the Dodgers kind of got to be on the other end of that. We just got punched in the face. We are in second place right now. And so they kind of had that motivation. And, some people will say, well, you ought to be able to get up for that every game. And I think what we see, I ran the numbers last year, and Dodgers opponents in the series after playing the Dodgers had a 385 winning percentage last year because it's World Series hangover. You can't go that hard for 162 games. And so it is nice. One of the things I really liked, I mentioned this on Friday night in our Discord watch party. We hung around and we watched the post-game show together too. And Dave Roberts' comments after that game, when somebody asked him, why did you only have Treinen and throw the 1 pitch in the 8th inning? And Roberts said, because it's not a game 7. You're managing this to win. You're treating it very important, but in the end, it was August 15th, and I thought Dave Roberts did a great job of balancing the long-term success of the team, the long-term success of Blake Treinen specifically there, where he's not ready for an up down, even though it was only 1 pitch. It's not the number of pitches. It's sitting down after you warm up and everything and then getting back up. Yeah, he probably could have done. And there's some non-zero chance that he would have been fine, but there's also some non-zero chance that he wouldn't have been. And so I like that they didn't alter their game plan to win this game. They said, look, we've got guys, we got to trust them to do it. And somehow the combination of Alexis Diaz and Jack Dreyer got it done that game. In this game, it was Alex Vesia who was big. I saw this comment from Eric Schultz. He says, picky details, but I felt it was very unfair to give Vesia the blown save. Diaz should have picked up the blown save. He has the earned run. That's just a scoring rule because unfortunately, Diaz technically, I believe, gets a hold because he came in with the lead, and when he left the game, they still had the lead. And so even though the run was charged to him, because Vesia was on the mound at the time, I'm going to look and make sure I'm right about the hold. But because Vesia was on the mound at the time, Diaz gets a hold and Vesia gets a blown save. But then Vesia also gets the win. And that's just a scoring rule. And that's why, one of the many reasons why there are a whole bunch of stats that you shouldn't care about when it comes to evaluating pitchers. People always used to talk about Jonathan Broxton. He has more blown saves than saves in his career. Well, that's because for the first 5 years he was a middle reliever, and so you're never eligible for a save, but you're always eligible for a blown save. And so things like that. There's a lot of stats that you just the best answer is just don't care about that stat, And so Diaz, Diaz didn't deserve a hold, but luckily nobody in this day and age is making a single dollar on the number of holds that they have. So
it's funny watching Alexis Diaz go out there, and when we were having that watch party on Friday, it looked like maybe he might be the dude to earn that save, and I was like, I'll take whatever. I'll will it into existence. Hopefully this is the guy who could step up and be the closer for this team for a little bit, but I would much rather see somebody better in that bullpen already. Hell, even trying Bobby bullpens. Let's bring up Bobby Miller or something like that, because the Alexis Diaz experiment isn't quite working out, I guess
He's
we
not
could
ready for
say.
prime time yet. Not ready to
No,
be the man.
he's around.
He's showing
But if
some promise.
they had like five other better relievers ready to go, and he was like the last dude. Okay, yeah, we can kind of, let you figure it out. But when Vesio was struggling and trying and still kind of, easing his way all the way back from his couple of months off this season, not having Tanner Scott, not having Kirby Yates, you would like to have a little bit more, a few more better options in that bullpen, but
Yeah.
we're not there yet. Still swept without him.
Yeah, and we'll talk
Without
more
better
about the
options.
bullpen in a minute. First, though, like it says in our little header down there at the bottom, Dodgers made a statement. And that statement is they're back in control of the NL West. And one way to judge that is by looking at the FanDuel odds. Our sponsor, FanDuel, the betting odds. Last time we talked, when the Padres were up by a game in the division, we were a little bit surprised to discover that the Dodgers were still favored to win the division, but it was all the way down to minus 180 after it had been like minus 900 at one point. Well, now, after this series sweep, it's back to minus 475. The Dodgers are back in strong favorite territory to win the National League West. Padres are at 340. Giants are at plus 30,000. Giants, last I looked, aren't even in third place anymore. I don't know what happened in today's games. Oh, they did. So the Giants won today, and the D-backs got swept by the Rockies. Wow,
Ooh.
that team.
And yet, oh no, we're about to go face the Rockies.
And yet the D-backs are only half a game out of third place. The Giants are dangerously close to finishing in fourth place if the D-backs can remember how to play baseball at all. But it's Dodgers and Padres, but it's much more Dodgers in the FanDuel odds now than it was on Friday when we talked before the first game of the series. So that's definitely one way to gauge how that series went, is how do the bettors feel? And the bettors feel like, yep, this is the Dodgers division to lose. And that's basically what it is, Clint, because right now, the problem being in second place is you don't control your own destiny. And right now, the Dodgers now, once again, do. They are 2 games up, 3 more games against the Padres. And then they're done with the Padres for the year, which means if the Dodgers can win that series next weekend, we don't even need a sweep, but win the series, just extend the lead a little bit, then the Padres are at the point where they have to hope somebody else does their dirty work for them and beats the Dodgers, because the Padres, they're almost out of chances to beat the Dodgers. And that's why I'm hoping that, maybe this is a good time to switch to this next header. As Kobe Bryant famously said, job's not finished.
Job's not finished.
And we talked about this a lot last year in the postseason. Each series, okay, that's awesome. Job's not finished.
Yeah.
You won the division, great. And the Dodgers, over this last 12 years or whatever, their celebrations have gotten a little bit more subdued at certain levels, but they do a good job of recognizing, okay, this is Ben Kasperius' first time winning a division. This is Shohei Ohtani's first time going to the playoffs. They still celebrate that stuff, but there's always that undercurrent of this team needs to win the World Series. And that's the fact this year too. This team needs to become the first team in 25 years to win back-to-back World Series. And the first step of that is winning the division again. Because that gives them the best chance to win the World Series. And right now, 2 games up is great. I'll absolutely take 2 games up over a tie, which is what you and I both expected at the end of this series, a tie. It could have been as bad as they could have been down by 4 games right now if the Dodgers had gotten swept instead of doing the sweeping. So 2 games up is the best case scenario after this weekend series, but there's still a lot of work to be done. And so it's kind of nice the Dodgers get to play the Rockies the next 4 days.
Yeah. Got to take advantage of Colorado. I think they played them pretty well in Colorado earlier this year. But yeah, I mean, we're at a point where, you can keep looking in the rearview mirror and look at the fact that this team blew a 9-game division advantage. But I don't care about that anymore. You got a 2-game division lead right now. Maybe I'll ask you this. I'm kind of curious. Do you think the sweep by the Angels was like the final low point for the Dodgers this year? Like that was the last slap in the face they needed to kind of kick it into gear.
I hope so. I'm not confident enough. Like I think the flip side of my optimism is, what I've been saying how the Dodgers are playing in July and August has no bearing on how they're going to play in October. The flip side is how they played this weekend doesn't have to have any bearing on how they play in October. I think this is definitely more what they're capable of, this kind of dominant pitching and getting enough offense. But also, you can kind of look at this series and still see, some potential issues. Like through the first 2 games of the series, the 2 teams combined had 1 hit with runners in scoring position that scored a run. They had 3 hits with runners in scoring position. One was Miguel Rojas's bunt, his botched sack bunt, and the other one was Manny Machado's infield single that didn't even move the runner in scoring position to third base. And so Michael Conforto was the only guy in the first 2 games to actually drive in a run with a hit with runners in scoring position. Today, there was a little bit more than that. Obviously, Freddie's home run came with runners in scoring position. The Padres had a couple. But we've talked about the Dodgers being home run reliant. I don't think that's as big a problem as a lot of people do. The problem comes when they don't hit the home runs. But the Dodgers should just hit home runs. That's one of the things this team should do. But yeah, you can't look at this series and say this wasn't the Blue Jays scoring 49 more runs than the Rockies in a 3-game series. This is the Dodgers. They won 2 games by 1 run each. And then there was a statement game. They won 6-0 the other game, but it wasn't a perfect series. And so I'm going to need them to keep this momentum going. The good news is they did win 3 games in a row against a very good Padres team, including the last game against, getting the winning run on a home run from Mookie Betts against a great Padres bullpen.
Yeah, that's a good point. This isn't like the type of Dodger baseball we're used to. We're used to them being like run differential merchants, having a game where they score 10 runs, 12 runs, 16 runs, whatever. This team doesn't really seem to have that this year, or at least they don't know how to find that consistently so far. But at the end of the day, I don't give a crap. I just want some dubs on the board. Give me that W, and that's what they got 3 of this week and this weekend. And when you're getting just enough runs, which is what they're doing, you can do that with the starting rotation that they have. Starting rotation, 3 earned runs over 17 innings against that Padre offense or whatever. Again, they don't slug a lot. I think they're like 20th in baseball in homers or whatever. That's not their game, but they find a way to just find some grass, move the ball around. The fact that they were able to limit them as much as they did, that makes me feel a lot more confident when you're looking at postseason being a month and change away, 6-7 weeks away. Starting pitching, maybe we have to go old school here and actually win some important postseason series on starting rotation. 5, 6, 7 inning dudes. If they're going 5, I don't know if the bullpen is going to be good enough, but we'll talk about that down the road. I saw a comment, I forgot who said it, but I still want you got to get a little bit more offense. You got to get something more than just the slug, or slug more consistently, as you're suggesting. And I'm sure, they could find a way to fit in another hitting coach. They already have 2 or 3. Why not add a 4th? If you just want to go up there and say, hit some dingers, there you go, Matty Man 5 Dodge. Yeah. I'd like to see some more offense if we are going to nitpick. And says job's not finished below us. The way this job can be finished is by putting more points on the board consistently, and they have a month and change to figure that out. One last thing, there was a comment much earlier in the stream, somebody saying they did this without Tommy Edman, they did this without Max Muncy, which both of those guys add instant offense, especially Max Muncy, because breaking news, he's better than Buddy Kennedy, I think is what it's called.
In fairness to Buddy Kennedy, he did. What did he do today? Was it 3 strikeouts? Did he strike out every time up? Oh no, 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. That's right.
Okay.
He did hit a lazy flyout one time. His first time.
What a guy.
Yeah. This is when we talked on Friday. It was the previewing the series, and we had just gotten the news about Max Muncy, officially being placed on the IL. It was gloomy, but I made the point that when the Dodgers were being accused of ruining baseball this offseason, Max Muncy's name wasn't coming up in that conversation. This Dodgers team is good enough to win even without Max Muncy, or it should be. And this series kind of showed that put everything together, you can win some important games, some close games, even what they have right now. And the good news is, hopefully, when we get to October, they're going to have more than what they have right now. Yep. Specifically, Muncy and Edman will hopefully be back. And even if they just replace, obviously Buddy Kennedy and whoever else on the roster, probably Alex Freeland at this point.
Justin Dean.
Yeah. One of those. Yeah, maybe Dean. The Dodgers can win that way. But the other part is the bullpen. Because what we saw this week, and we've been beating around the bush about the bullpen this whole episode now for 20 minutes and 47 seconds. But this bullpen was much better this weekend than they were against the Angels, but also still a little bit nerve-wracking. Alex Vesia on Friday, hit 2 batters in a row. And we talked I feel like I've done an episode since that game because we did do the live the watch along party on Discord. By the way, any of you who aren't in the Discord, go to patreon.com/realfrg and $5 a month. You join the Discord. We did a watch along party. It was a lot of fun hanging out with our peeps, watching the game together. But we talked about the fact that I would rather have that kind of game from Vesia than walking a couple guys because hit batters are kind of flukish, and you made the point on Saturday, Vesia's issue is fastball command, and if he can get that under control. I saw people poo-pooing his velocity. I don't remember if it was in the chat of your episode on Saturday or in our Discord, but poo-pooing the velocity. But Alex Vesia has one of the most effective fastballs in baseball because of the rise that it has. It doesn't need the velocity. And we saw that today. He got 2 weak pop-ups and then struck out Manny Machado. He's very good when he can command his fastball. That's where he's been struggling recently. So today, and you made the point before we went live, the fact that Vesia wanted that ball, he basically told Dave Roberts, this is my game. Don't go. I don't know who he would have gone to otherwise anyway. But
apparently Robleski was throwing.
Okay.
Which I wouldn't have hated, but the fact that Vesia wanted that, that's the type of thing that makes you want to run through a wall. And that's the type of stuff that kind of sparked this team last year. We talk a decent amount of crap about somebody like Brent Honeywell, who you look at the numbers, he was a very bad pitcher, but he's kind of an iconic Dodger legend in his one postseason run because he pitched garbage innings to save this team. Having those kind of rah moments is, I think, something we've been looking for, and probably that bullpen sort of having trouble finding its footing because it's been missing its leader for a good chunk of the season. Obviously not having Trinan, Vesia, probably he's as close as you can get to being that sort of I don't know if I want to call him a bullpen Justin Turner or whatever, but he's at a point now in his Dodger tenure where he can be a leader, a vocal leader, a lead by example type of dude. And I think that is the type of lead by example situation where he's telling Doc, I want these final 3 outs. And it wasn't, a cakewalk for him. I think it was top of the order with Nando and Arise and Manny Machado. And he shut them down. That's the type of thing that again, I'm getting a little bit of the hair rising or whatever. Maybe I'm not drunk enough right now, but give me that tweaker on the bump and feeling good about himself again, because that's where it's been. The confidence has been down for 51. You get Vesia going again, hype me up, bro. Hype me up.
Yeah, and obviously it would have been awesome if he could have struck out the first batter he faced so he could have preserved the lead. But you know what? When you come in with second and third and 1 out, one of those runs is probably going to score. He getting out of that inning with only not allowing the lead to give up. I saw somebody said that Vesia has been overused. I've seen that talk a lot. Somebody had hit us up on Twitter about that. I've been looking at Vesia is on pace for 65 innings pitched this year, which is not a ton, and even this week, he's now thrown 63 pitches in the last week. Mm-hmm. That doesn't feel like overuse to me. That feels like what you should expect from one of your high leverage relievers. And, maybe there's been points this year when they've had to use him a little more often, but he's only even gone back to back a handful of times recently. Twice in the last 3 times in the last month and a half. So he doesn't feel overused to me. Do you feel like he is?
There was a point where I feel like he was being a little overused. He was one of like it was him and Bonda. They were up just it felt like they were up just about every game. But I think as he struggled so far, in the month of August, have kind of tapered back the usage a little bit. Perceptively, I would say yes. Apparently, statistically, not exactly overused.
And I wonder, I think it's easy to point to overuse when and Matty Man says it's maybe not.
Yeah.
It's more the pressure, that when him and Dreyer are the only two guys, maybe that pressure makes it feel to us anyway more like overuse. I don't know if it feels that way to him, but that could be. But
it's a lot of Red Bull, man.
Considering the Dodgers bullpen issues this year, I feel like Dave Roberts has done a pretty good job of making sure that nobody gets too overused. Like I'm just looking at the innings pitched among relievers this year. Kasperius has the most innings pitched of a guy who's currently in the bullpen, but obviously he made 3 starts in there. Plus he was doing some piggyback, some long relief. So that's not quite the same. Jack Dreyer has pitched 60 1/3 innings. And then Vesia's at 51 1/3. So yeah, I mean, Bonda's throwing more, Dreyer's throwing more, Robleski's throwing more, obviously some starts there. I don't feel, the funny thing is Tanner Scott's just a little bit behind Vesia, even though Tanner Scott's been on the IL for a little bit now.
Yeah.
So maybe there was some overuse there, or at least, none of it feels like overuse. I mean, and I'm thinking back to when Joe Torre had that dude, who was it on the Yankees who
Ramon Tong Corey Wade?
No, it was a guy who later came to the Dodgers. I don't know. Next time you're talking, I'll find his name instead of listening to you. But I've seen guys even in this day and age of 1 inning relievers, guys throwing 90 innings in a season, which means they're pitching, 2 out of every 3 games basically, and almost. And so it's that feels like overuse. This stuff doesn't feel like overuse as much. But yeah, I could be wrong. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. It feels like it's a different era though. Like relievers don't go out there and throw 100 innings anymore unless they're starting or whatever.
Yeah, but we were already in that era here, So we got a super chat.
Appreciate that, Diane.
$10 super chat from Diane. Can we talk about Teo's lack of hustle and it directly costing us a run today? I'm going to need you to be more specific because I saw one on offense and one on defense. So,
yeah.
It's
I think in this one is directly costing a run is him not advancing as let's say with the amount of hustle that you would need. He was doing his best Manny Machado impression. That's what it looked like on the base paths.
Yeah, and I don't know what it's going to take for Teoscar to hustle. I've seen Teoscar hustle. I know it exists. I know he's not like Manny Machado. I truly believe he does not have the hustle gene. And so he has to like make a conscious decision to hustle. I think it's in there for Teo more than for Manny, but for whatever reason, maybe he is still nursing an injury or he's worried about a recurring injury or something. But because we also saw it was either O'Hearn or the other lefty who's the same person as O'Hearn.
Sheets?
Yeah. Larry Sheets' kid. Double down the right field line where, I mean, that thing was in the air for an hour and a half. There was one just like it yesterday that Arise hit. Arise, at least it's understandable because you don't play Arise to pull. But I assume defensively you were expecting Sheets to pull the ball or whichever guy that was. And Teo just didn't get to it and didn't look like he tried particularly hard to get to it. And so, like I said, there's one on each side of the ball today. I mean, we're less than a week removed from Teo sitting on the bench for a game because his hustle gene wasn't kicking in. He homered 2 games in a row. And so like last year we saw Teo be bad at defense, but all was forgiven because he was really good at offense. This year,
dingers.
If he's going to continue to be bad at defense and, whether because he doesn't hustle or because he's just bad, and then top it off with not hustling on offense, we're going to need a lot more than just the 20 homers he's hit this year. He needs to turn into 2024 Teoscar Hernandez really quick if that's the amount of hustle we're getting from him,
Yeah, I mean, is it a hustle thing? Is it just a concentration thing? I guess those can kind of be, go hand in hand. He might just be, I don't know, I wouldn't say tuning out. And I don't think this is because, hey, I got my contract, I'm good to go. I saw somebody in the comments, and you also kind of alluded to it. Hey, is he nursing an injury? Does he kind of have that leg, the lower body in the back of his mind, or is he just kind of marching by the beat of his own drum this year? I'm very curious. We do have Alana Rizzo and I have Dave Roberts on Dodgers territory tomorrow, and I do have it on my long list of things to try to get in there. Question wise, is just general thoughts and what we've seen out of Teoscar Hernandez this year. I'd be curious to. I mean, he's going to dock wash it, of course,
Yeah.
but I'm curious to hear what Dave has to say in his own way, and then we can all decipher it here on All Dodgers on a Monday night.
How relieved are you that Doc's going to be in a good mood tomorrow?
I was terrified that if they lost this series or got swept, like I was going to tell Alana, hey, maybe we just try to push it back for a better one, because I don't know how to. I really like Dave Roberts as a person, and to have to ask like what's going on here?
Why do you guys
are 4 down.
suck?
Yeah, what do you guys? Why does this team suck? What's wrong with you? How come you're not having more meetings or something like that?
EB says, don't you guys realize Teoscar Hernandez just came back from a groin injury and maybe he's trying not to get hurt again? I think we realized it since I said those words out loud just a second ago.
And just came back. I mean, where are we at now?
A couple months now.
Months? Yeah.
Yeah. And we've seen him hustle. And that's the thing. Like, maybe recurring injury is in the back of his head. But theoretically, he's healthy because we've seen him run fast since he came back. We've even seen a few decent defensive plays in the last couple weeks. We know the ability is there. And by the way, Scott Proctor is the guy I was thinking of. 2006, Scott Proctor appeared in 83 games of relief for the Yankees, 102 and a third innings. And the next year, 83 games and 86 innings. So 188 innings in two seasons for Scott Proctor. Believe it or not, he had some arm issues after that. So that's overuse. Maybe I shouldn't judge everybody against the Scott Proctor standard, but when I look at Alex Vesia on pace for 65 to 70 innings, that's fine.
Yeah, that's pretty fine. By the way, 67 games, 68 games now since Teoscar has come off the IL with that groin injury. So it's either they brought him back too early, and he's just kind of nursing it, or it's gonna be one of those things where we hear in the offseason, oh yeah, he had to undergo surgery because he was nursing this injury all season long, which is very much a Dodgers type of thing. But for now, what we are told is that he's fully healthy. Teoscar's fully ready to go. He just picks and chooses his lanes on where he wants to go all out. But hey, he's having a good month. We'll give him that
if he hits, that's what matters. And that is, I think, everybody on the Dodgers' opinion too. If Teo hits, we can put up with the bad defense. We can put up with the lack of hustle if he hits. But if he doesn't hit, there's going to be some criticism because there are some things that don't take any talent. Who was it? Derek Jeter or Wayne Gretzky or somebody who said, it doesn't take any talent to hustle, to work hard. And Teo doesn't seem to be doing that right now. And maybe he's just super slow. I don't know.
But he's getting older now, a lot of repetitive motion from the seeds.
Yeah, we do know there was a lack of hustle on the offensive side today on that one particular play. So,
or at least on the base running side. Hey, I want to pause for a second just to shout out the chat. You guys are showing up here tonight on the Sunday night. We appreciate the hell out of you guys. If
We've
you haven't
got a
done
good
it already,
group, especially considering no Padres trolls here. We've got a ton of people here. This is awesome.
Yeah, over 400 watching us live actively right now. We appreciate that. If you haven't done it, like the stream so far, subscribe to the channel. We are about 500 away from 20,000 subscribers on the channel. You guys can help us. If you can help us get there, we'd very much appreciate it. Have your dog's grandma's mom sign up to the channel or something like that.
And remember what I said the other day. We need super chats on happy episodes too, so that Clint isn't tempted to root against the Dodgers just for financial reasons. So
that's not what I root for, a game to end in 9 innings, regardless of the situation, especially midweek and a boring Angels series or something like that. That is what I root for. I root for my ability to go sit on the couch and hang out with my dog, or I guess the woman, whichever one is
You are the
closer.
Teoscar Hernandez of podcasters, my friend.
I got that hustle gene.
Usually pretty good, but sometimes you're like, what the crap is going on? That's you. Yeah.
But no, these ones are fun.
I do want to talk.
Yeah,
I want to talk a little bit. I assume Bernard Dansel's comment. He says, "I'm glad Mike Shildt is dumb." I saw some people wondering why was it what's his name instead of what's his name in the game in the bottom of the 8th inning instead of Mason Miller. Why was it Suarez? You know, and I have a theory. I believe that Robert Suarez is the Padres closer. And, for whatever, and I'm not saying this is a good reason. I do think that it would have been smarter to have Mason Miller go against that part of the Dodgers lineup tonight. I think what Mike Shildt said was, well, it's the toughest part of the Dodgers lineup, so I'm going to my top reliever. And on his clipboard, Robert Suarez's name is written on the top. He's the top reliever. Mason Miller, he's still the new guy. He hasn't proven himself in Padres P Brown and Pooh Brown and P Yellow. In the P and Pooh, Mason Miller's still the newcomer. And so I do think Mike Shildt messed up. I think Mike Shildt has not accepted the fact that Mason Miller is your best reliever. Robert Suarez is a great reliever. Mason Miller is your best reliever, and he should be in those situations where, we saw today, Blake Treinen came in the 7th inning when it was the tough part of the Padres order. That's why they went to Blake Treinen, because that's the role that Blake Treinen needs to pitch in. Whether he's earned it lately or not, that's going to be Blake Treinen's role. And I think the Padres should have had Mason Miller in there in the bottom of the 8th to face Mookie and Smith and Freddie, because Mason Miller is their best reliever right now.
I mean, there's also maybe a scenario where you're trying not to overexpose Miller to these guys. There's a chance. Hey, yeah. Is that one of Richie's chats?
Richie says super chat's the only time Jeff reads any of my takes. A, I just proved you wrong, but B, you know how to fix that, man. Just super chat. That's easy.
Oh God. Now, I mean, to be fair, I'm the guy who reads the comments. Jeff hates reading, despite his English degree.
I like to do math and make Clint's head explode. So
listen, Sunday is not the day for math, my dude.
Well, apparently neither is Saturday, because in your All Dodgers After Dark in the morning, Richie's voicemail, Clint referred to counting the number of F-bombs in Richie's voicemail as math. This is counting.
That's a lot of math.
Like kindergarten math, yes, but counting and math are not the same thing, just so you know.
But when you don't start counting at 1, then you just have to make it up along the way. Yeah. So that's where it gets difficult. But anyways.
So always count your F-bombs from 1. Just remember that. I also want to say I'm a little bit bummed, but not at all surprised that Nando390 is not here in the chat tonight, because Nando390 had so many things to say in our pregame episode on Friday about what a terrible decision it was to let Clayton Kershaw pitch. And Clayton Kershaw, I don't know if you noticed, he pitched goodly. And real goodly. And
I love that 22 is getting the love that he deserves around on the internet. Like he is, you could argue he has been the most consistent, best Dodger starting pitcher this season. I think he's second on the team in starts, second on the team in innings pitched at this point. When he came back, from his injury, from his knee and toe and all the things he had done in the offseason, he has posted every 5 or 6 days. The vaunted Padres, the team that you are chasing at that moment on Friday, Clayton Kershaw does what he does best. He played the stopper for this team, 1 inning or 1 run over 6 innings. He's just still very good. Even here in his old man advanced age, he is still very damn good at baseball. And I think I saw, I think it was Jared Carabas potentially who posted something about like, we're in this season where it feels like it's a swan song or whatever. And like, oh, he's barely hanging on. Like, no, he's arguably one of the 15 best pitchers in baseball. Maybe that's a bit of a reach, but he's been so damn good. And still to this day, as long as it's not the postseason, that is a dude I want on the mound in a game 1 or very big, to start a series, or you need a stopper. That's my dude. That is my dude.
And we've seen at least 4 times this year people saying, "Oh, Kershaw can't pitch in big games." Going against the Giants when the Giants were battling for division. Oh, Kershaw chokes under pressure, and that game 7 innings, no runs allowed. Oh, Kershaw can't pitch in Colorado, 6 innings, 1 run. Oh, Kershaw against the Blue Jays offense, they're going to tear him apart, 6 innings, 1 run. Oh, Kershaw chokes in big games, can't face the Padres, 6 innings, 1 run. Like, I mean, why do you keep doubting this dude? You know, he's got a 3.01 ERA. He's got, I mean, even his FIP, it's 3.87, which obviously is going to be higher because he doesn't strike out a ton of guys. But Clayton Kershaw gets outs. And you know what? We saw it again this weekend. I'm going to enjoy every Clayton Kershaw start. I do think this is probably his last season, but that's just a guess. And that's especially more because he strikes me as the kind of guy who wants to go out before he turns into a bad pitcher. And we are still definitely very much in the before Clayton Kershaw is bad era. This is our Kershaw is good era still. And he's a different kind of good than he was when he was winning Cy Young Awards. He's still real good, though.
He gets the job done. Never bet against Clayton Kershaw. I saw earlier in the chat, going back to what we were talking about a minute ago, Noah Ortega says that Clint should major in math, and I would hate that so deeply. So deeply. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, and I don't think you need a major in it. You know, just take a class, you know? I don't know. Who knows? We don't need math.
I'm not here to learn no math. That's why I have a calculator on my computer.
So we're heading into this series with the Rockies. The 4-game series with the Rockies. The Padres have a 4-game series with the Giants. The Giants are useless right now, but they did win a game today. Maybe that gets them rolling. We could use a little help from the Giants this week, but bottom line is with the Dodgers playing the Rockies, the Padres playing the Giants, I feel like worst case scenario, the Dodgers should head into the next weekend series with the Padres with at least this same 2-game lead in the division. If the Dodgers lose ground this week before they face the Padres again, that's bad news. They should, have at least a 2-game lead. Hopefully, the Giants can help us out a little bit. Maybe the Dodgers extend that lead to 3 or even 4 games, which would be beautiful. Like a 4-game lead going into next weekend series would feel so good, knowing that even if the worst thing happens, you're still in first place at the end of this series and no more head-to-head matchups. And having a chance to really put a dagger in and extend it to 7 games, I'm not going to get greedy yet, but I do need the Dodgers to win. And to that end, I want to mention over on FanDuel, our sponsor, FanDuel, proud sponsor of all Dodgers. Tomorrow's game, Yamamoto for the Dodgers, Kyle Freeland for the Rockies. The Dodgers are currently minus 270 favorites to win this game. That is heavy favorites for a single game. In fact, I believe that is by far the biggest odds of any game tomorrow. The next highest is the Braves at minus 215 to beat the White Sox. How bad do the White Sox have to be for the terrible Braves team to be that favored? But yeah, Dodgers minus 270 to beat the Rockies in game 1 of the series. I'll take that.
So you're saying there's a chance? Yeah, I mean, like you look at the matchups here. Breaking news: the Rockies are really bad. There are very few redeeming qualities, if any, for that ball club. And like you said,
except they just swept the D-backs.
Diamondbacks are pretty bad themselves.
Yeah, they are.
But that's like, I don't know. It's like watching. I'm gonna walk away from where I was going with that one. But and then what? Sheehan, whatever a Gordon is, or Gomber. Oh, Austin Gomber. Sorry, my chicken scratch was really bad. But Emmett Sheehan, I kind of like Emmett Sheehan in Colorado because I think his stuff is still so fastball heavy that it plays up, or at least doesn't play down there. Shohei Ohtani getting his start in Colorado against whatever a Gordon was, and Kershaw against Chase Dollender, and his 6.5 ERA.
Dollender was the guy who was pitching against the Dodgers in the rain game last time. He actually pitched really well against the Dodgers.
So it is their World Series.
Hopefully the Dodgers can figure it out. Alex says the Giants will lay down for the Padres the next 4 days. They'd rather lose than help themselves out or help the Dodgers. You know what? I don't think the players will lose on purpose. I think there are plenty of Giants fans who will be rooting for their own team to lose because they don't want the Dodgers to win. But I do not believe that any major league player, I don't think the players care. I actually, during this, it was on Saturday's game when the Dodgers were playing the Padres, and a friend of mine who was at the game, he texted me and he's like, do you think there's this animosity between the Dodgers and Padres? Do you think it's overplayed? Because, you see when we haven't talked about Will Smith yet. I'm about to talk about Will Smith. When Will Smith threw out Tatis stealing in the first inning, and Mookie, it was kind of a hard tag in Tatis's face, and Mookie kind of made sure he was okay. And it's like, it looks like these guys are pretty friendly, and we've seen plenty of that. And I do believe that most of it on like Manny Machado, I believe he likes to manufacture drama. He didn't think anybody was throwing at Tatis, but he manufactured drama, and Dave Roberts just gave him a taste of his own medicine last year. Like, I'll manufacture some drama with Manny. Manny threw a baseball at me. It's just playing Manny's playbook. I think most of it is fake among the players. I do think the Padres. So my brother was talking to a guy who works in the Padres front office, a former player. I'll still tell you who it is. It's Alan Craig, former Cardinals first baseman. Alan Craig and I share a niece. My niece was the flower girl, Alan Craig's wedding, because my brother's ex-wife married Alan Craig's wife's brother. Anyway.
Are they subscribed at least?
I don't know. But they were, my brother and Alan Craig were at a party, at my niece's party. And so Chris was just kind of pushing Alan Craig's buttons. He knows he works for the Padres. And so he's just talking Dodgers to him. And he said there is very strong hatred among the Padres front office for the Dodgers. I think organizationally, those guys hate the Dodgers. And I think it's probably similar for the Giants, hating the Dodgers. But I don't think that extends to the players. And so all of this is a long way of getting back to Alex's point. I don't believe the Giants players are going to roll over for the Padres. I think Giants players would love to play spoiler for the Padres when they're playing them. And then when they play the Dodgers, they'll try the hardest to beat the Dodgers. And when you are playing a lost season, you would like to be a spoiler. So I think that's what they're going to try to do. Problem is the Giants aren't very good. That's my concern. Yeah. Not that they're not going to try, just that when they try, they're going to be unsuccessful.
Yeah, they really just cratered somehow. They weren't bad for a little bit, and then there was more baseball season that happened. But yeah, I mean, you kind of accused the Padres of having that sort of manufactured drama and all that. And that was one of like Richie's first chats in our stream today, pointing out like, hey, all you got to do is just play your game. And this is me paraphrasing, but play your game. They're going to get themselves kind of tuckered out by being like, oh man, we're so hyped we're so amped for the series. We're better than you. We're going to beat you. And then it's like, okay, well, try your best, bro. We're just here doing our job.
And I kind of like the even though Dave Roberts talked about, we have to match their intensity. We have to do this. We have to do that. This wasn't really a case of matching their intensity. This was just the Dodgers saying, hey, we're a better team than you. And so we're gonna play better than you, and we're gonna beat you. And there were close games. This series very easily could have been 2-1 Padres winning it. There were 2 games that were very close, but in the end, Dodgers won all 3 games, and it wasn't by matching the intensity. It was by scoring more runs in each of the 3 games, which is how I like them to do it.
It's the best way to win ball games in there.
Speaking of Will Smith. Bernard again, he says, I thought Manny Machado was safe, but Mike Schilt didn't nut up and challenge. Machado was the second of 3 guys that Will Smith threw out stealing.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big one because it was first and second. They were trying to double steal. Will Smith throws to the back end, throws out Machado. I thought he might have been safe too. I think in the amount of time they had, I didn't see enough replays to know for sure, but it looked like it may have been one of those where it's call stands and it was the first inning. So I understand why they didn't challenge that. But I was a little bit surprised that they didn't. But yeah, Will Smith doing something nobody's ever done before, accounting for 3 of the first 4 outs for the Dodgers. I called my brother. My brother wasn't watching because he was so angry about the umpiring the night before. So he wasn't watching that game. But I told him, I said, hey, there's 2 outs in the second inning, and Blake Snell just got his second out of the game. And also the Dodgers have 1 hit and they're up 3-0. And he's like, what in the world is going on in this game? And then I texted him a minute later, by the way, they still have 1 hit. Now they're at 5-0. That was a crazy game. But Will Smith, that was the Will Smith game, even though I don't think he even got a hit in that game.
Even though Snell, he puts up 6 scoreless innings, he better have bought Will Smith a nice fancy steak dinner or something because, Smitty bailed him out big time, and that's a big part of that whole, only 3 earned runs over 17 innings in this series. Smitty, it also, like, him nutting up and catching all 3 of these games
Yeah.
is pretty damn impressive for somebody that, I don't know if it's impressive, but it's good to see that these guys are willing to, step up when the moment is needed or whatever. Obviously, you try not to be like, oh my God, this is the most important series of the year, but it was the most important series of the weekend, and you had to win those games to try to get back in first place, and they did it.
Yeah, and it was the most important game of the season so far. But as O'Donnell Boy points out in the chat, he says Padres podcasts are complaining that Dodger Stadium didn't have a playoff atmosphere this series. Hey, numbnuts, it's not the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, that's the difference. Like, this is why when we talk about, is this a rivalry and stuff, we had this conversation in the Discord the other day. I think it is currently a good on-field rivalry. But right now, if the Padres were in 4th place and Manny Machado wasn't on the team, I don't think any Dodger fans would care about the Padres very much, And that's why they need to keep this on-field rivalry going, because right now it's very dependent on the standings and the individual players. Whereas Giants, you put on a Giants uniform, Dodger fans hate you, Dodger fans hated Manny Machado when he was on the Dodgers. And then, and then he went to the Padres and kept talking about the Dodgers. And so there, but it's a lot more about Manny Machado than the team that he currently plays for. And I think this is what we see in Dodger Stadium where, we're excited about this series because it's an important series. But even like the first game of the series, they were even talking on the broadcast about how quiet it was at the stadium because it was just tense. This was not, oh, we want to beat the Padres. No, we want to win this game. We want to be in first place. Like, it had nothing to do with who we're playing. It was a tense game because first place was on the line. And the way Dodger fans kind of chose to, or not even chose, how they naturally reacted to that was tense silence, which is how I was sitting on my couch. I kind of liked it. I thought it was kind of cool that it was very much like 50,000 people sitting on their couches in tense silence. Picture me in the playoffs clutching my pillow. It's just like, come on, get this out. Come on, Jack Dreyer, you can do this. You can do this.
I can imagine the nerves of our buddy producer Kevin. He wears these type of games and these type of series real bad. So I'm pretty sure he was pacing over there in his kitchen. And we appreciate $2 from Bernard, who appreciates us reading a couple of his chats. Thank you for participating in our chat, Bernard, and everybody else who's been in the chat. And Roxas F Machado, and you could say that despite it not being Saturday, because it's just a letter.
It's just a letter F.
Yeah, it's just the letter F.
And who blows bubblegum while trying to steal second base? Manny Machado does. He also blew a bubble right after striking out.
Dude loves
to end the game tonight.
He loves to do that. He loves having his, his like da-na-na, hoping he's gonna have a
bubble gum moment.
Or whatever. Yeah. Because he's had them in the past. Obviously, he's made some really badass looking plays at third base, doing blowing a bubble, whatever. But when you're getting thrown out trying to steal second base, maybe keep that bubble.
When I was 15 years old,
in the holster.
I was 15 years old pitching, and the umpire had to come out to the mound and tell me I wasn't allowed to blow a bubble while I was in the middle of my windup. I didn't realize I was doing it, but I was blowing bubbles while I was pitching apparently. And it was, bubbles are roughly baseball shaped. So I could see how that could be distracting to the hitter. But yeah, you know what? Manny wanted to look so smooth stealing a base while blowing a bubble. Instead, he got tagged out while blowing a bubble, whether he was out or not. He was called out, and that's all that mattered.
Say a couple of comments like Dodgers suck in the chat. Saying Machado went 1 for 12. He played worse than Conforto. That's kind of facts right there.
And don't forget the one hit went 80 feet before it was fielded by the infielder. Like, it was an infield single that didn't even advance a runner. So it was, not Manny's best series, but I enjoyed it for sure. I like Manny Machado playing poorly. Interesting that Dodgers suck has something to say other than the Dodgers sucking, though.
I don't know if that was my internet, your internet, but I think we had an internet issue there for a second. So apologize for any of the breakage there.
That was just our impression of Manny Machado this series.
Virtual was saying earlier in the chat about, the kind of different ways these teams approach and these organizations approach playing each other, saying they're just focused on the wrong things. Like the organization or whatever, one of their broadcast dudes, Jim Russell, dunking on the attendance all weekend. Worry about winning. If Padres fans actually showed up these days to Petco, I'm sure it's going to be crazy, and I'm sure the idiots that run that organization. It's a smart play, I guess, but they're going to geofence and block out Dodgers fans from being able to attend games at Petco Park because they couldn't fill enough seats on their own for all of those years. That was their way of doing it. But listen, I don't care about who has more butts in the seats. I care about who has more, notches in the W column. And the Dodgers got 3 this weekend. They're going to get 3 next weekend.
And the fact is, all 3 games, the Dodgers have more butts in the seats than Petco Park can even hold. So you know what? Build a bigger stadium and let Dodger fans show up. So.
It's very fair. Richie said in the chat, when I say F Manny, he really means it. And that one we know. Richie. Also, Noah saying Kershaw striking at Luis Ariz is something that nobody had on their bingo cards. And in his opinion, Trinan needs to get better with runners on base. Trinan kind of like Trinan is actually coming back, from missing a lot of time. They're still kind of slow playing him or whatever. I'm less worried about him than I was like a week and a half ago. Where are you at with Trinan?
And I assume he's specifically referring to holding runners on. And Blake Trinan, if he hasn't learned that in his first 38 years of life, he's not going to learn it now, I don't think. Blake Trinan can't hold runners. And we saw that again tonight. And as long as he gets the outs, don't allow very many runners. And when you do allow runners, don't allow hits with runners in scoring position. The formula has worked for Blake Trinan. It can be infuriating. We saw it last year against the Yankees in Game 1 of the World Series. I mean, the reason that game went to, was it Game 1 that I'm thinking of when Jazz Chisholm got a base hit and then stole second and stole third and then scored on the ground ball up the middle that Tommy Edman made the diving stop, and they got Rizzo, the force out on Rizzo at second base.
I think
that was all leading up to Freddie Freeman's grand slam. But anyway, whatever game that was, I mean, that's a fact of life with Blake Trinan, that Blake Trinan doesn't hold runners on. And so it's kind of like Teo. We said, okay, just hit better and we won't worry about the stuff you're not good at. Trinan, just get outs. Don't allow very many base runners. But that's why I'm definitely a fan of Blake Trinan needs to start his own inning, because don't bring him in with runners on because they're going to steal bases. Kenley Jansen had the same issue, and Kenley Jansen was the best closer in baseball for several years when he was completely unable to hold base runners. It's not a vital skill for a closer. In fact, I suspect most closers are pretty bad at holding base runners because they're pretty good at not allowing base runners. And so they don't stress too much about holding them when they are on. We got another super chat. This one from Nicole, $4.99. Thanks for jumping on after a Sunday game, guys. No, Nicole, thank you for jumping on after a Sunday game, Nicole. We're just here. You're the real superstar, Nicole. So,
and everybody else.
Chat. All the rest.
Also, Alexander Rose saying, guys, smash that like button if you haven't done it already. Let's try to get this video to like 150 likes. That helps us out in the YouTube algorithm, and that allows us to do more and more content. The more we're able to get more butts in the seats here, so Jim Russell likes us or something like that. I don't know.
And the live chat is hopping. Use the comment section too. Drop a comment if you're here live. Just drop a comment in the comment section because it really does help the algorithm. If YouTube sees, wow, thousands of people have watched this and there's 75 comments, YouTube says, I'm going to show this to more Dodger fans. So it really does help us to do that. Obviously, as Clint mentioned before, subscribe if you're not yet. We're really trying to hit that 20,000 mark. That would be really cool. And this was a fun series, Clint. It's one of those where, we decided today, I think, that next weekend we're going to do post-game episodes after all 3 games of the Padres series. So maybe no All Dodgers After Dark in the morning on Saturday.
Probably not,
because
I'm good with that.
This series probably deserved more post-game episodes than it got. But next weekend we won't make that mistake. Hopefully the Dodgers reward us and win some of those games too. But this was a fun series, fun to talk about. And again, like we barely touched on Will Smith's heroics. We, barely touched on Michael Conforto having 2 good games. We, Teoscar Hernandez, we mentioned his 2 home runs, but we didn't dig into a lot of it because
Andy Pages hitting his 20th homer of the year.
Yeah.
Hosing whoever it was at second base.
Yeah, it was
this game, this
not
series.
Felix Fermin. What's his name? Freddie Fermin.
Freddie Fermin. Again, and another one of the things I really do like, and we could probably get pretty close to hitting the wrap it up button off of this, is Dave kind of sending a message in that they are benching Teoscar at the end of these games where they have a lead. They are giving themselves the best outfield defense. Hopefully that's a little bit of a kick in the butt for Teo come playoff time, because they might need it.
Yeah. Richie's in pain. What do you mean no Saturday show? No, we'll have a Saturday show. It'll be after the game,
Yeah.
And we'll see what we think about, if we do voicemails or not on that one. We'll have to see.
Maybe we do for next week. We do voicemails Wednesday, Sunday, something like that, after the games. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll make announcements in the Discord. We're figuring this out as we're going right now. But
yeah, we're trying to bring content to the people, So.
Yes.
But I think that's going to wrap it us for today. We've been an hour, had a great group. Like seriously, Sunday night. I know you guys have a lot of stuff you could be doing. The fact that you're here with us, I feel like a flight attendant now. We know you have a lot of options when you fly, and we appreciate you choosing all Dodgers Airlines. He's a big dumb animal, isn't he, folks? That's Tommy Boy. But that's going to do it for us. Again, subscribe if you haven't yet. Comment in the comments section. Like the episode. Ring the bell so you get notifications when we're live. Thanks to our sponsor, FanDuel. Thanks to Bleav Network for having us on. Anything else I'm supposed to say right here, Clint?
No, again, one more time, we'll throw it out there. If you guys are looking for a different way to support the show outside of just hitting that like button or subscribe button, which we appreciate, do check out patreon.com/realfrg or click the join button here on YouTube. You can join as a YouTube member. All the links are in the description below. With that, you get access to our Discord server where Jeff is in the chat talking to fans and people, and I'm in there. Kevin's in there. We're all in there hanging out, talking about Dodger baseball all day long, all year long. It's pretty cool community that we have going on over there. But again, if you can't do that, you don't want to do that, just subscribe. That's completely free.
Yep. And the only thing left to say is bye.
Bye.